We all love butterflies for their beautiful, brightly coloured wings. But did you know that these vampires begin life as something completely different? As they grow, they undergo one seriously terrific transformation, a process known as metamorphosis. Join me as we follow the life cycle of this quirky creature from the egg to the air. Stage 1. The egg. It all starts when a female butterfly lays her eggs, usually on leaves or stems of plants. Inside these tiny eggs, caterpillars grow. Depending on the species, the eggs can vary in shape and texture. They can be round, oval, or cylindrical, and smooth, bumpy, or wrinkled. The time it takes for the eggs to hatch can also vary. In some species, they will hatch within a few weeks, and in others they will only hatch once the weather is warm enough. Stage 2. The caterpillar. Once ready, the caterpillar leaves its egg home and enters the big outside world. As these little critters have one serious appetite. They actually eat their way out of the egg and immediately start chomping on the leaves of the host plant. During this stage, they shed their skin 4 or 5 times. As the caterpillar grows, its skin becomes too tight and splits open, revealing a new larger skin underneath. A fully grown caterpillar can be over 100 times larger when it emerged from its egg. Wow! Stage 3. The cocoon. Once fully grown, the caterpillar forms into a pupa, or a chrysalis, a kind of vessel in which the caterpillar changes into a butterfly. They usually do this on twigs or safe hidden areas around the host plant. The pupa stage may last a few weeks to several months depending on the species. During this time, a hardened case forms around the pupa to protect it from predators and extreme weather conditions. And inside, the tissue, limbs and organs of the caterpillar transform. The result? A wonderful winged butterfly. Stage 4. Butterfly. Once the butterfly is ready to emerge, the case around the pupa splits open. But it's not time to take off yet, as the wings are at first wet, soft and wrinkled against its body. The butterfly waits for its wings to dry and pumps a liquid called hemolymph into them so they can become big and strong. Once fit for flight, this brilliant bug takes to the air in search for flowers and to feed on, and for other butterflies to mate with. And that's the cycle complete, and ready to start all over again. Here is our next life cycle. Our next life cycle is about the frog. Frogs are animal athletes with strong, powerful legs that allow them to leap out of harm's way. These powerful limbs are the secret to their success, and incredibly, it takes baby frogs weeks and weeks to grow them. Like beautiful butterflies, frogs and toads undergo an astonishing transformation, which is called, that's right, metamorphosis. As they grow up, from jelly-like eggs laid in water, they grow into wriggling tadpoles, and finally grow legs suitable for land. But how does this mesmerizing metamorphosis work? Well, let's have a look at each stage of the frog life cycle in turn to find out. Go, I'm just moving the camera. Come on, there we go. Stage 1. Extraordinary eggs. It all starts with adult frogs laying hundreds of tiny eggs, which clump together in groups known as frog spawn. This happens in early spring when the weather is just starting to get warmer. Spotting frog spawn is often thought as being a key of sign of spring. You can hunt for frog spawn in shallow, still water, a garden pond, for example. As the eggs are defenseless, they're usually laid among vegetation and just below the surface of the water to give them some protection. If you're lucky enough to spot some of these strange eggs, pay attention to their shape. Frogs lay frog spawn, which look like round clusters of eggs, while toads lay toad spawn, which comes in long ribbons. In the frog spawn, the baby frogs start out as tiny little black dots, surrounded by a jelly-like substance. Over time, they become coma-shaped as their tails begin to develop. Amazing. Stage 2, teeny tadpoles. After spending 1 to 3 weeks eating the yolk of their egg, the baby frog hatches into the big wide world. Now the baby frogs are known as tadpoles. They have gills, a mouth, and a long tail, which they need for swimming. Did you know the tadpole stage of the frog life cycle is also known as the larval stage? Tadpoles are frog larvae in the same way that caterpillars are butterfly larvae. For the first week or two after hatching, tadpoles won't move around very much, as they're still absorbing some nutrition from the yolk of their eggs. However, once the yolk is all gone, the tadpoles are big and strong enough to venture out into their watery world. Unlike adult frogs, tadpoles can't go on land, so they feed on plant material filtered from the water and tear off tiny chunks of nearby vegetation. The legless, water-bound tadpoles slowly metamorphose into frogs over the next 14 weeks. First, they grow back legs, then front legs too. Soon after, their body starts to change shape, and they're able to start eating insects. Next, the tadpole's tails shrink away, and skin grows over the gills, as they develop lungs and eardrums. These are super important steps as they prepare the tadpole for life on land. Once their gills and tail are gone forever, tadpoles undergo one last 24-hour push, where the metamorphosis completes. Once this stage is finished, the baby frogs emerge from the water as tiny adults. Amazingly, tadpoles are able to control the timing of their transformation. If they're living in a dangerous environment, like a pond full of hungry fish, they will metamorphose more quickly to make their escape. On the other hand, if their pond has lots of plants to munch through and few predators, or if it's extra cold on land, tadpoles can delay their metamorphosis and remain in the water for up to 1 year. Wow! Stage 3, fully grown frog. And there you have it. The frogs are all grown up and ready to head out into the big wide world. As adult frogs and toads are much less reliant on water, so long as they stick to the shade and don't dry out, they can live on land, but they often return to ponds and lakes for a splash. Before too long, the females will look for water to lay her own eggs. Once that's happened, the life cycle is complete. What a frog-tastic life they had. Well, here is one more life cycle. This final life cycle isn't about insects, it's about stars. The life cycle for a particular star depends on its size. All stars begin life in the same way. A cloud of dust and gas, also known as a nebula, becomes a protostar, which goes on to become a main sequence star. Following this, stars developed in different ways depending on their size. Stars that are a similar size to the Sun follow the left-hand path: red giant star, white dwarf, black dwarf. Stars that are far greater in mass than the Sun follow the right-hand path, which are red supergiant star, supernova, neutron star or black hole, depending on size. A nebula. A nebula is a star which is formed from massive clouds of dust and gas in space, also known as a nebula. Nebulae are mostly composed of hydrogen. Gravity begins to pull the dust and gas together. Protostar. As the mass falls together, it gets hot. A star is formed when it is hot enough for the hydrogen nuclei to fuse together to make helium. The fusion process releases energy, which keeps the core of the star hot. Main sequence star. During this stable phase in the life of a star, The force of gravity holding the star together is balanced by higher pressure due to the high temperatures. The Sun is at this stable phase of its life. Red giant star. When all the hydrogen has been used up in the fusion process, larger nuclei begins to form and the star may expand to become a red giant. White dwarf. When all the nuclear reactions are over, a small star like the Sun may begin to contract under the pull of gravity. In this instance, the star becomes a white dwarf which fades and changes color as it cools. Supernova is a larger star with more mass will go on making nuclear reactions, getting hotter and expanding until it explodes as a supernova. An exploding supernova throws hot gas into space. Neutron star or black hole. Depending on the mass at the start of its life, a supernova will leave behind either a neutron star or a black hole. That's all for now. Here's our bedtime lesson.